Now Jonah was asleep, but he was awoken within his sleep by God. And God told Jonah, "Go down to that city Nineveh, and tell the people to turn back from their evil ways, for they have offended me." Jonah awoke and went down to the harbor. But he did not get on a ship to Nineveh. He went on a ship to somewhere else. He bought a ticket and got on, fleeing God's word. Now things were rather well on the boat. They were on the sea. Everything was calm, and all of a sudden a tempest came up. The waves thrashed back and forth, and all the men were very, very frightened. Each one prayed to their own God. They started throwing stuff over the side of the ship. They started to lighten the ship because they were afraid the ship was going to sink into the sea. They looked around here and there, and they saw that everyone was helping everyone except for Jonah. Jonah was missing. So the men continued to try to save the ship. They rowed, but no matter how they rowed, no matter how hard they did to try to get to the dry land, the storm just blew them back and forth, and surely all would be lost. The captain of the boat searched for Jonah. He went deep, deep down into the bowels of the boat, into the ship. And there, at the very bottom, the lowest level, was Jonah, asleep, indifferent to the danger that was around him. The captain awoke Jonah and brought him up to the deck. There each man once again prayed to their own God and tried so very hard to save the boat. And they couldn't know why this tempest, this storm had come up all of a sudden. So they drew lots. Each one picked a straw to see who was to blame. And the short straw, of course, came to Jonah. And Jonah confessed that, "I am fleeing my God, the God of the Hebrews. Please, please, throw me over the side of the boat into the sea, where I surely will drown." But the men would not do that. Again, they started throwing stuff off the side of the ship, and they started rowing and rowing and rowing, and they could not get anywhere. And finally, in despair, and with the urgency of everyone's life on their minds, they threw Jonah over the side. And they said, "Please, please, please, let the blood of this man's life not be on our hands." And once Jonah went into the sea was calm. And each one of the sailors of the boat pledged to give an offering to the God of the Hebrews for saving their ship. Meanwhile, Jonah in the sea was swallowed by a big fish. And this fish swallowed him whole and kept him in the fish's tummy for not 1, not 2, but 3 days. And Jonah was frightened. And Jonah prayed to God, saying, "Please, God, please, please save me. I wish to see my home once again." And after 3 days, the fish spit Jonah onto a beach. Now it just so happens that this beach was by Nineveh. And again God approached Jonah and said, "Jonah, Jonah, Jonah, go to that great city of Nineveh and tell the people that if they do not turn back from their evil ways, I will lay their town in ruin, their city in ruin." Now Nineveh was a great city, had many people. It was a 3 days walk from one end of the city to another. So indeed it was a great city, both in population and in size. And Jonah went to the city and started preaching and telling them that they must turn back, turn around, do teshuvah, turn around from the evil ways and do the right thing, or his God, the God of the Hebrews, will surely destroy the city. He preached, and then he went on top of a hill next to the city to see what would happen. And word got around the city about what had to be done. And each one in the city, from the king to the lowest of lows, took off their clothes and put on a sackcloth and fasted and changed their ways. Most importantly, they changed their ways. And the destruction was averted. Now you would think Jonah would be happy about this, but he wasn't. He was upset. And God had the sun rise in the east and beat upon Jonah, and it was very hot. And Jonah was getting very, very, very angry and very aggravated and very hot in the hot, hot sun that God had created. Then God created a gourd, a tree, to give Jonah some shade. And this pleased Jonah a great deal, and he sat in the shade for a while. Until God created a worm, and this worm ate the source of Jonah's shade. And Jonah started to weep and said it was better that he would be dead than to be going through what he's going through now. And God came to Jonah and said, Jonah, you are weeping over a gourd, over a plant that gave you shade, that you neither toiled nor created, nor worked for, that lived but one day and then became food for a worm. And you weep, and you are sad, and you grieve for that tree, that plant. The people of Nineveh turned, and they, God said, turned away from their evil ways and did right. But you did not care for them. I created them, and they did listen to my word.